Okay, we're up to Daf Yud Amid Beis, Yud Amid Beis. Okay, the pasuk says the pasuk is an interesting halacha. The pasuk says uh v'chol dama. Where is that pasuk? Uh, Basically, it's a pasuk that says that the dama v'chatos, when it goes, you shouldn't bring the dama v'chatos inside. That you bring the dama v'chatos inside, it becomes puzzle, and therefore you can't do zrika, and therefore you have to burn the meat. You can't go ahead and be machshir the carbon. That's what it says. I thought I had the pasuk, and I'm sure I do. So Chol chatas. This is in Vayikra Vav Chav Gimel. Chol chatas asher yuva midama el ol moed, and any chatas whose blood is brought into the ol moed lechaper b'kodesh leisei ochel, you should eat it. So it's talking about a dam of a chatas chitzonia, an outside chatas. You bring it in. There's a psul, guys, of not going out of the Beis Hamikdash. There's a psul to go inside the kodesh. Again, you're in the Azara. There's the Kodesh. That's where the menorah is, and that's where the Mizbeach Hazav and the Shulchan Aruch. And you brought the blood in. It says it by a chatas. The question is, what about the dam of an oilo or of an asham or a shlamim? What happens? Would that become puzzle that you would not be able to sprinkle it to be machshir the carbon? That's the discussion here. Machlokes Tanoim. So Tanan Hasan. Shayi Rabbi Kiva Oimek. Kol damim shenichnasu lahechel. All damim, all blood. Lechaper psulin. It's puzzle, and therefore you would not go ahead and able to bring the carbon. The carbon would not be eaten. That's it. It's gone. The Chachamim moimim chatas bilvad. As the pasuk said by chatas, says the Chachamim, it's not every carbon, it's only one carbon. A third shita, Rebbe Eliezer, afa asham. Even the asham would have the same name as the chatas. And the reason we're bringing this in, fellas, is, if you might recall, in our Mishnah, the Tanakama said, a chatas that's shechted shloi lishma is pasul. Said Rabbi Eliezer, afa asham. So the Gemara is extending and saying the din of afa asham compared to a chatas is also vis-a-vis the halacha of the blood going in. Just like the chatas blood going in passes, so to the dam of the asham going in passes. So three shitas. You have the Chachamim only chatas, you have Rabbi Kiva all dam, and Rabbi Eliezer is the one we're interested in, is what is the asham. Shneimar, because it says what? Kachatas ka asham. You make the hekesh between the chatas and the asham. Now, Bishleim, Rabbi Eliezer, Kittikam Taima. Very good, Rabbi Eliezer, like he said, his reason, chatas is a mefurish pasik, and we have a hekesh between the asham and the chatas. El Rabbana and my Taima, what's the Rabbana that only the chatas? So Amarava, asham nichlis damer lifnim pasul, leimotzas amit. You can't possibly say that an asham going in other words, guys, the kasha is not why the Chacham say all blood is good. What do you do with the hekesh? You have the hekesh, and l'chara you have a hekesh. You could say Rabbi Akiva's limud v'chol dam. They don't dash in the limud. They have a different drasha. But eimei shivan al hekesh, you have a mefurish hekesh comparing the chatas to asham. If a chatas goes inside this puzzle, says Rabbi Eliezer, the asham is also puzzle. Why did the Chacham who say it's kasha? What did they do with what with the hekesh? And they're saying it's a kal v'chomer that the asham cannot puzzle. It's a kal v'chomer, it can't be puzzle. Ma kal v'chomer me oila and Amid Aleph. Ma oila shehi kolol, an oila which is totally kolol. It's totally consumed. You burn the whole thing. It's what we call in art scroll a burnt offering. So oila shaya kolol nichnes damal of nim kishera. If the blood goes on in its kosher, asham she'ena kolol, the asham which is not kolol because it's eaten by the kahanim, like kol shekein that it should not go ahead and be puzzle. So it's a kal v'chomer. Madach oila, which is mochamed at asham. Of course, it's kolol. The dam goes in; it doesn't passel the carbon. Asham, which is less severe than oila, ain't din that it doesn't passel the carbon. Mala oila shekein oina mechaperes. They'll say the reason why the oila is not passel because it's not mechaper. As mashen kena, an asham is mechaper, like right, it's a guilt offering. It's mechaper. So maybe just like the chatos is mechaper and it's puzzle, so too the asham, which is mechaper, it's puzzle. So it has a tzad chumra that the oila doesn't have. Says the Gemara, mincha schayte teichiach. The carbon mincha will be teichiach. Now the mincha schayte is by and large dales, right? Let's say you're a carbon oila v'yored, and you start off with a sheep, and then you go to birds. That's Dallas. Dali Dallas, the poor of the poor is what is the Minchas Chayta. So if the Minchas Chayta would go inside, guys, if the Minchas Chayta would go inside, it wouldn't passel. And not even though it's mechaper. So what do you see? Being mechaper is not a chumrah. So the fact that an osham is mechaper is not a reason it should be puzzle. Again, you want to learn from oila, just like an oila goes inside. What? It's kuli kolol and it's still kasha. So to an osham, which is not kolol. 1 second, an osham is mechaper, an oila is not mechaper. So I'll show you that kapara is not a reason to go ahead and say something is puzzle. Why? Because the minchas chayta goes inside and it's still viable. You can still bring it. It's mechaper. So you see the fact that it's mechaper is not a reason to puzzle. And a male and osham should still be viable. That's the time of the chachamim why osham, if it goes inside, it's still viable. Says why are you going to what minchas chayta, which is a flower offering? Why don't you stay in the realm of blood? Good, it's malika, but it's blood. In other words, if I had to make a comparison to an asham, what's more comparable, a mincha or a minchas chayta or a oilas oif? I'd say an oilas oif. It's a live animal, right? And nonetheless, if it goes inside, it's still viable when you take it outside. So you see that what mechaper is not a reason to passel. So why did you use mincha as your dugma of something that's mechaper, that's not passel? I have something closer in physical mitzias, right? Which is the oilus chatas oif, rather than minchas oif, just to prove that that it's mechaper is a chumrah. The Gemara says on that chatas oif is boider avav in he. It's a bio later on in the Gemara. If chatas oif, if it goes inside, whether it passels or not. So therefore, we went with minchas chayta. Good. So right now, guys, at this point in time, I know an osham is not. If the blood goes inside, even though it says kechatas kasham, I have a kalvach oimer. I have a kalvach oimer to teach me between oila and minchas chayta to tell me what it's good. V'lifrach ma'ala minchas chayta shekein eina min zevach. Right. A minchas chayta is not a blood offering. It's a meal offering. It's from flour. Maybe that's why. But enochinami osham, which is similar in blood to chatos, would be pasul. Gemara says oila techiach. An oila is similar to chatos. It's blood and it's not. V'chazer adin. We'll go back, put it back in the hopper. Lo rizeh k'rizeh. The tzad of minchas chayta is not like the tzad of oila. Lo rizeh k'rizeh. The oila is not minchas chayta is not like the oila. That's a tzad shavash sheben shein kotche kedashim. Both the oila and minchas chayta is kotche kedashim. V'nichnas lefnim k'sheirin, and if they go inside the kodesh, they're still kosher. Afani evi asham, so too I'll bring asham shehu kodesh kedashim, which is kodesh kedashim. V'nichnas dam lefnim, and it's kosher. Okay, so that's the limud why the chacham do not learn the hekesh of kechatas ka'asham to passel an asham that goes inside. It's a kavachoyim between what minchas chayta and oila. Just like minchas oila and minchas chayta and oila are kotche kedoshim, and if they go inside, they're still viable. Hu adin asham, which is kotche kedoshim, right? If blood goes inside, it's still viable. You can go ahead and sprinkle it, bring the carbon, and eat the meat, and you're good. The only carbon, therefore, according to the chachamim, the only carbon that's not good is the chatas. Okay. Amalei ravmi barnish levashi. For lifrech, let's ask on your kalvachoyme between asham and oila and minchas chayta. Malatzad hashava minchas chayta and asham shebehen shekain ein lehem kitzva. There's not a set amount. We had this yesterday, right? We had the same yesterday. Yesterday was Rav Ravami Pazrika. This is Ravami Barnish, but the same kasha. In other words, an asham has a kitzva. It can't be more than shnei mokes, 2 kesser shkolim. Mashen came. This has no kitzva. Time about asham sheish le kitzva. You can't spend more. So therefore, guys, that can't be the reason the Rabbanan hold an asham mad is viable. Again, what we did was we just proved the chachamim a kal v'chomer that an asham is viable from a kal v'chomer. We just threw the kal v'chomer out the window. Now, what do we do with the geser shava? We have a hekesh. I said geser shava. We have a hekesh kakatus kasham. Rabbi Eliezer said just like the chatas is what is the dam is puzzle. If it goes inside, so too the asham is puzzle. So what's the reason the chacham say the dam is not puzzle? Say Eloheinu time of the Rabbanan Dama Kro, it's a pasuk. Okay, what's the pasuk? What's the pasuk? You know the pasuk, right, guys? What's the pasuk? V'chol chatas asher yuvu midama al oil moyed lechaper b'kodesh le'seyachol. Now the key word is midama, from its blood, midama. Now, what are we darshan from here? Dama kra dama shel zu, the dama of the chatas mentioned in the pasuk, v'loy dama shel acher. Pirish, the chachamim have a gezerus akosiv to tell me that only the dam midama, only its dam, the chatas dam, not the dam of an asham, and therefore if the dam of the asham goes inside, it doesn't pass. The idach, what does Rabbi Eliezer do with the lim of the chachamim? Rabbi Eliezer says it does passel. Dama of basara, that if the blood goes inside, it passels. If the basa goes inside, not. If you take the basa from the azara into the kodesh, it wouldn't passel the carbon. The idach, the rabbanan who learn it from the, speaking about the dam, where they know the basaf that it wouldn't passel. It says dam, right? Dam dama. It could have said dama and it says dam. In other words, it could have said dam and it says dama. Guys, excuse me. It could have said dam and it says dama. So shmami no, you hear both. The idach Rebbe Eliezer dam dama loy darish. Okay, so at the end of the day, what's the reason? We have machlokes. Says Rebbe Eliezer, the dam of nashim goes inside its puzzle. Why? Because kichatas. According to the Chachamim, it's a cause of dama of the chatas and not dam of the asham. Now, Bishlein Rabbanan the Ami Asham Sheshachtu Shalei Lishma Kasha Hainu the Iskis Mincha Lechatas Mincha L'Asham. Now you have a hekesh, right? What's a hekesh? So the pasuk says, "Leisi ofa chametz chelkam." The kahanim cannot make the mincha into chametz, guys. They can't bake into chametz. Right? Nasati yesa meishe kodesh kadashim. He kechatas kaasham. So the first part of the pasuk, guys, is speaking about what? It's speaking about a mincha, yeah, guys. Leisi ofa chelkam. They should make their chelik into chametz, yeah. So it's speaking about a mincha. What does it say at the end of the pasuk? Kechatas kaasham. So what do we have set up? We have a mincha that should be like a chatas, and a mincha should be like a asham. Kechatas kaasham. What is the limud of mincha to chatas and minchas to asham? Good. That's the setup. Okay. So bishleim rabbanan de asham sheshachtu shalei lishma kasha hainu de ishkis mincha lechatas mincha leasham. The Tanya Reb Shimon Omer, names are important. Says Reb Shimon, Kaidish Kadashim he kechatas kaasham. Minchas chayta hari kechatas. A minchas chayta is like a chatas. Lefikach kinsa shleishma psula. Okay, there's a very nice Rashi over here, guys. There's a nice Rashi over here. Rashi says shaloi b'kli shares. Shaloi kiddush hakoimitz b'kli shares psula. If you didn't put the koimitz into a kli shares, it's puzzle. I'm going to tell you outside what it says, and then we can go inside. So take a look at me. The process of the mincha would be a person at home would go ahead and say, this flour is kodesh. At that time, it has kedushas damim. You can go ahead and redeem it. They would bring it to the Beis HaMikdash. They put it in a kli shares. At this point in time, it gets kedushas aguf because it's in a kli shares. The kohen would go ahead. He would do kamitza. Okay, we're going to see that he does kamitza. Whatever you find between these three fingers is called the koimitz. That's tantamount to shchita. That action of doing this is tantamount to shchita. Putting it in the kli shares, another kli shares, that's Kabbalah. Walking it over to the base to the mizbeach is halacha. Burning the kaimitz is rika. So we have a parallel between the four avodas of dam and the four avodas of what? Of the mincha. Let's see Rashi inside. Shaloi kodesh hakaimitz b'kli shares psula. Shal menachos hukish l'zvachim. The menachos make a hekesh to zvachim. Litain arba avodas. To need require four avodas. Kemitza keneged shchita. Matan koimitz b'kli shares keneged kabbalas adam. Halacha keneged halacha and haktara keneged zrika. So Rashi, right, goes ahead succinctly just explain what I told you. Geshmak. Okay, so now, what do you do with this comparison between the mincha? A mincha is like a mincha schayta and like a mincha is like a carbon asham. The Tanya, Reb Shimon Omer, kodesh kedashim hi kechatzas ka'asham. Minchas chayta hari chatas. Lefikach kimtza shaloi lishma psula. If you go ahead and do kmitza shaloi lishma, it's puzzle. Why? Because the chatas is puzzle. So if you shech the chatas shaloi lishma, it's puzzle. If you do kmitza shaloi lishma of a minchas chayta, it's puzzle. Minchas nedava, the mincha of a dava hari ka'asham. Lefikach kimtza shaloi lishma k'sheira. Not very geschmack. So in other words, guys, I have a mincha. The comparison to chatas v'asham is telling me one din, the din of shaloi lishma. If it's a minchas chayta, it's like a chatas, and therefore you do it shaloi lishma, burn it, no good. If it's like an asham, it's not going to help, but it won't be. You can go ahead and be makar of it. Ella, he's going to have to bring another one. But that's only like the chachamim who say an asham shaloi lishma is kasha. Rabbi Eliezer says it's puzzle. What does he do with the comparison to asham? Because he says it's kasha. Excuse me, he says it's puzzle, right? So what does he do? What does he do with that comparison? Says the Gemara, Elul Rabbi Eliezer, second line where it gets wide. Elul Rabbi Eliezer, l'may hilchas ikish mincha lechatus and minchas lasham. Right? And for the Gemara, l'chiidach Rabbi Shimon, another dinner of Shimon. Again, names are important. Ditnan, shaloi b'kli shares psula. If you would go ahead and not put the koimitz in the kli shares. Guys, let's say you do the following. You go like this, you don't put it in, and you go over to the mizbeach, and you... So, says the Tanakama, it's puzzle. Shaloi b'kli shares, if you don't put in the kli shares, it's puzzle. Rabbi Shimon machshir, Rabbi Shimon says it's kasha. Rabbi Yehuda braid Rabbi Chia, says Rabbi Yehuda name Rabbi Chia, my time Rabbi Shimon, Amakra, Kodesh Kodashim he, Kechata Suka Asham. Bala of the biyad. If you want to do biyad without a kli, of the biyamin. Guys, if you want to do the kmitza and bring it as a korban without using a kli, you can do it with your right hand, like a chatas. Like bala of the bekli, of the bismol. If you want to do it with a kli, meaning you want to put it in a kli and throw it on, you can even do it with your left hand, ki asham, like an asham. Okay, so outside we have a comparison, fellas. Again, we have a din. What's that din? It says in the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer says an asham is pasal shaloi lishma, because it's like a chatas. The Chacham say it's kosher. We have both. Rabbi Eliezer is a hekish. The Chacham, it's a pasik dama. Now, taking that piece of information, what do you do with the comparison that the mincha is compared to chatas kasham? It's compared to both. Like the Chacham, it's geschmack. If it's like a chatas, it's a minchas koita, it's pasal. If it's like an asham, it's good. But like Rabbi Eliezer, I can't make that comparison because Rabbi Eliezer says an asham is also no good. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you what the comparison is. If you come to work with your hand, this is Rabbi Shimon's din. If you come to work with your hand and not put it in a kli, then it's like a chatas, which is with your hand. If you're coming to, and you can do it with your right hand. If you're coming to do with your kli, then it's like a asham. You could even do it with your left hand. That's the limit of Rabbi Eliezer. Now, notice that who's the memra of both? Reb Shimon Shimon said both members. Reb Shimon said the memra by lishma, and Reb Shimon said the memra by lefty righty. So how can he go ahead? Which one? Which one's the ikka, guys? For the Gemara, Reb Shimon, haikro mafikle lahachi. He's learning chatas vashim both ways, guys. He's learning shaloi lishma and he's learning righty lefty. Which one is it? Says the Gemara, ikakra lich Reb Yehuda brei Reb Chia. The main part is for lefty righty. That's the main part. If you do with your right hand kachatas, left hand kli ka'asha. Who does so? Okay. What about shaloi lishma? Therefore, where does he know minchas chayta shaloi lishma? If he doesn't learn kechatas, where does he know minchas shaloi lishma? Well, minchas chayta the besula shaloi lishma time achrinahu. Chatas time my dechsiv ba. What does it say ba? By that it says the word he. Or who. Minchas chayta nami kasiv ba who. It also says who. So therefore, it's just like the mincha, it says who, it's no good. So to what? Shaloi lishma. So too a chatas, a chatas. Minchas chayta, just like the minchas chayta is no good. So just like the chatas, guys, the chatas is no good because it says who. By mincha also. Okay, let me get the shyness down for you, the psukim to be more exact. Okay. So guys, what we're doing now is we want to show how do you know a minchas choite shaloi lishma is no good? Because we're going to compare it to what? To a chatas, the chatas shaloi lishma. So it says by the chatas, the pasuk is dalid chav dalid. There's kol chelboi v'samach yad el reish hasayer v'shach le'slei b'makam sheyichus oila lifnei Hashem chatas hu. It says chatas hu. What does it say by mincha? What is it? It says by the mincha. Ve'iviyas el koyim v'kometz hakoyim mimena moli kumtzai as askarasa. Askarasa means the kometz. Ve'ikter mizbeach alish Hashem chatas he. It's called a chatas. So just like we call a chatas, we call it the minchas choita chatas. Just like the chatas shaloi lishma is no good, so to the minchas choita is no good. But the ikka chatas kashim is to teach me right left. The ikka chatas asham is to teach me what right left. That's the bottom line, guys. The bottom line, fellas. Why did Rabbi Eliezer say in the Mishnah? It says kechatas kasham. So therefore, just like the chatas shaloi lishma is no good, asham shaloi lishma is no good. So I told you somewhere along the line, the chacham are going to have to deal with this hekesh. What does it teach me? If it doesn't teach me shaloi lishma, what does it teach me? So in other words, this is like at the end of the sugya, you're bringing this in as the final line, right? So this is the machlokes, the first machlokes we have in the Mishnah. Every zevach you being shaloi lishma is kasha, el shaloi lishem b'lishem chayva, with the exception of chatas and pesach. Comes along Rabbi Eliezer and says what? Even asham, kachatas kasham. Now let's go back to the Mishnah on Daf Beis. Because now we're going to see two more opinions. First, the opinion of Yossi ben Choni. Yossi ben Choni Omer, Hanishchotim l'shem Pesach u'l'shem Chatas psulin. Fellas, the Tanakama was speaking about a korban Chatas that you shechted shlo lishma, a Pesach that you shechted shlo lishma. What about a Shlomim l'shem Pesach? What about a Shlomim l'shem Chatas? The Tanakama said it's good. Again, very important. It was the Chatas in other korban that's no good, shaloi lishma. But in other korban l'shem Chatas was good. Comes along Reb Yossi ben Choni and he's saying no, it works both ways. Just like a Chatas l'shem in other korban is no good, a Shlomim l'shem Chatas also wouldn't be good. Also would not be good. Okay, that's very, very important. The next piece of Gemara, fellas, is Ma'od Kasheh. It's very it is. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a difficult brisa. I'd like to take you to the end of it and the purpose of it. So if you lose me along the way, because I might get lost, you'll know exactly what the bottom line is. Okay, and here's the bottom line. Yossi ben Chona oimer hanishchatin l'shem chatas. Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Yochanan, Yosef ben Choni v'Rebbe Eliezer omru davar echad. They're both saying the same thing. What's the same thing? Go to Rashi, 3 lines down where it gets wide. Omru davar echad. The Rebbe Eliezer nami pasal be'acherim hanishchatin l'shem Pesach. In other words, like Rebbe Eliezer, if you check the shlomim l'shem Pesach, it would not be good. Bismanoi, if it's in Yudalid. U'l'shem chatas kol yomos hashana. U'mibraisid l'kamon dayik la Rabbi Yochanan. So according to Rabbi Yochanan in Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yossi are saying two things. Not only a shlomim l'shem Pesach, but even a shlomim l'shem chatas would not be good. Comes back in the Gemara. The Rabbi says, "Ba'acherim l'shem chatas pligi." No. But l'shem Pesach, I'll agree with you. But l'shem chatas, I'll disagree with you. Meaning, if you take a shlomim l'shem chatas, it would be good. So, guys, we have a machloikis between Rabbah and Reb Yosef to the extent of the machloikis between Reb Eliezer and Reb Yossi. Let's take a look, guys. Take a look. A korban that you shechted, two things. Guys, very important. L'shem chatos, l'shem pesach. Chatos is the whole year. Pesach is only on, okay, what's the din? So according to Rabbi Yosef and Chanan, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi will both say it's possible. They both agree. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi both agree that what? That it's possible, that according to Yosef and Chonin. But the Gemara said they say the same thing. What do you mean they say the same thing? Says Rabbi Yochanan, exactly the same thing. Guys, look at the chart. Look at my pointer. Whether it's a chatas the whole year, whether it's a Pesach on Yudalid, they're both puzzle. If I go ahead and I shecht a shlomim l'shem chatas or a shlomim on Yudalid, they're both puzzle. In other words, Rebbe Eliezer says the exact same thing as Yossi ben Chayni. Got it? Got it? As Rabbi says, no, they did. Rebbe Eliezer does not say the same thing. He agrees to him by Pesach, l'shem Pesach bismanu pasol. He disagrees by Chatas. That's the Yisoid of Machlokes. They disagrees by Chatas. Guys, you have to get this down, or else the Gemara. My whole share is going to be predicated upon bringing a raya to Rabbi Yochanan and a raya to Rabbah. So, guys, listen. Here is, look at the chart, guys. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in a brisa, a long, hard brisa. And I'm going to be medayik in the brisa where Rebbe Eliezer says not only Pesach, but even Chatas, the whole year, a Shlom M'Shem Chatas is possible. Then I'm going to bring in the second part of the brisa and be medayik. He only argues by Pesach, but he agrees by Shlomim. But he agrees by Chatas. He agrees by Pesach and disagrees by Chatas. I know it's a lot of words. Guys, look at the chart again one more time before we begin. Again, under discussion, I'm using the word Shlomim, okay? A Shlomim l'shem Chatas. A Shlomim l'shem Chatas. Says, Rabbi Yosef ben Chayna, you're out. You're out. It's puzzle. Says Rabbah, I agree, it's puzzle. What does Rabbi Eliezer hold? Same thing. Just like Pesach and Chatas are out, so Rabbi Eliezer agrees, they're both out. Says Rabbah, I agree that Pesach is out. I disagree by Chatas. Chatas is still in. Okay, we'll be back with this chart. So I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna go through the brisa. It's a hard brisa, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on the brisa. I'm gonna spend time on the diuk of the brisa to prove again. The first proof is gonna be, guys. What's the first proof? That Rebbe Eliezer not only agrees with him vis-a-vis Pesach, he agrees vis-a-vis what? He agrees vis-a-vis Chatas, that the same Chatas that you're going to go ahead, it's going to be what? It's going to be puzzle. Where's that paper? I don't know. Where is that paper? Meant to be, it's not meant to be. Let's begin. Rabbi Yochanan. Yosef ben Chayni, Rebbe Eliezer, Amru Davar Echad. They say the same thing. Outside, what do they say? Shlomim l'shem Pesach, Shlomim l'shem Chatas, out. Pesach and Yudalid, Chatas the whole year. Rabba Amar, no. B'achem l'shem Chatas pligi. By Pesach and Yudalid, you're out. However, Shlomim l'shem Chatas, you're still in. That's the machlokes between Rabba and Rabbi Yochanan in what? Does Rabbi Eliezer disagree with him or not? Titania. Ha-Pesach she'ova shenasai. A Pesach that's over a year old. So what automatically does it become? A Shlomim. It's over a year old. V'shachle bizmanu l'shmoi. You shechted it on Pesach l'shmoi. So therefore, guys, it's puzzle. It's a Pesach bizmanoi. So therefore, that's out. V'chein ha-shoichet acherim l'shem Pesach bizmanoi, or Shlomim, any other carbon, right? Rabbi Eliezer Paisel, Rabbi Eliezer says what? It's out. There's your raya that Rabbi Eliezer agrees by Pesach, guys, right there. He agrees by Pesach right there. You don't need any chachma. Right there, you see anything l'shem Pesach's out. Rabbi Yeshua machshir. Rabbi Yeshua says it's still in. Rabbi Yeshua in B'shar Yemos Hashana she'ena kasha l'shmai. The rest of the days of the year, a Pesach l'shem Pesach is out. Pesach, in other words, in B'shar Yemos Hashana she'ena kasha l'shmai. If you would check the Pesach l'shem Pesach in September, forget about it. Acherim ksherim l'shmai. But if you sech the shlomim in September l'shem Pesach, it's in. Bizmanoi and Yudalid shu kasha l'shmai. Bizmanoi where a Pesach l'shmai is kasha. Ein oidin sheyichshu acherim l'shmai. So madach, guys, here's the kal v'chomer. Madach the rest of the year where a Pesach l'shem Pesach is out. Shlomim l'shem Pesach's in. On Pesach where Pesach l'shem Pesach's in. Ein oidin that shlomim l'shem Pesach should be in. Amalei Rebbe Eliezer. The rest of the days of the year, she'ena kasha l'shmai. A Pesach l'shem Pesach is no good. Kasha hu l'shem shlamim, but a Pesach l'shem shlamim would be good. Bizmanoi on Yudalid, shu kasha l'shmai. Bizmanim on Yudalid, where it would be kasha. Bizmanim on Yudalid, where it would be kasha. Einay din she'yuchshel l'shem acherim. Einay din that what? That if you shech shlomim l'shem Pesach on Pesach, that it should be good. V'yuchshe Pesach bar ba'asa shaloi l'shmoi, and you come out that what? You'd go ahead and shech the Pesach, a shlomim on Pesach, and it would be good. V'kacha ta'omer, mali huchshu acherim b'shayimos hashana l'shmoi, shekein hu kasha l'shem acherim. That shlomim all the rest of the days of the year, l'shmoi, l'shem Pesach is good. Why? Because it's kasha l'shem acherim, because it's kasha for others. The yuchshu acherim bismanoi l'shmoi shekenu pasal l'shem acherim. So this is the dialogue where it gets very, very complicated, and I'm going to go through it. I just want to bring the one diak, guys. What's the diak I want? I want to prove to you that Rabbi Yochanan's diak, that not only does Rabbi Eliezer hold by Pesach bismanoi is shlom l'shem Pesach, but even shlom l'shem chatos. Let's look at Rashi. Look at Rashi. Go down. About 5 lines up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Hechi the Apostle Rabbi Eliezer ba'acherim l'shem Pesach, right? Just like Rabbi Eliezer apostles others l'shem Pesach, apostle ba'acherim l'shem chatos. He's going to apostle l'shem chatos. The time of the Rabbi Eliezer mishum to apostle l'shem acherim. Since the Pesach is apostle l'shem acherim, so to l'shem chatos. V'achanami b'chatos isha. For Rabbi Daik Miseifa, and Rabbi is going to make a diak from the Seifa, Shechazah Bar Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi's diak is going to be on the Omid base. Bottom line is, guys, the diak from here is Loit Rabbi Yochanan, that they're both, the diak over here is that Loit Rabbi Yochanan, they're both out, guys. Look, the diak is, Rabbi Eliezer agrees, like what Rabbi Yosef ben Chanan says, both Seich Pesach and Seichatos, he says Seich Pesach and Seichatos. Okay? That's what I meant, that it's very, you know, but I want to just extrapolate the halacha that we need. Continues the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yeshua, in Kain arat the koyach Pesach and asat the koyach b'shlamim. You're going to go ahead, Rat, and you're going to go ahead and give koyach b'shlamim. Look at Rashi. In Kain, imat the pois lachem l'shmoi b'zmanoi. If you're going to pass l'shlamim on Pesach, l'shem Pesach, hoyruk Pesach is going to be weaker. And asat the koyach b'shlamim. Shekol hashana shehi's man shlamim. All the days of the year where shlamim Pesach hanishchat l'shmoi kasha. If you shech the Pesach l'shem shlamim, it's going to be kasha. V'hayoim and the Yudalit shuz man Pesach kol shlamim nishchat l'shmoi is psulin. Nimsa machsheva shaloi gadol koyach b'shlamim mi-Pesach. Matter the whole rest of the year, guys, shlamim l'shem Pesach is going to work. You're going to tell me on Pesach it doesn't work, and you give the shlamim a bigger koyach. That's Rabbi Yeshua's taina. Back in the Gemara. So. Rabbi Eliezer now is going to give a different kal v'chomer. Matzinu moise Pesach, we find a Pesach that's left over, but shlamim, it comes to the shlamim. However, vein moise shlamim but Pesach. But a moise shlamim can't come as a Pesach. Let's say you separated a shlamim, you lost it, you separate another one, brought it, you found it. You can bring a Pesach as a shlamim, but you can't bring a shlamim as a Pesach. Uma Pesach shem moisoi ba shlamim. Shach de bizman l'shem shlamim pasol. Madach a Pesach, which could become a Shlomim. But if you shecht it on Pesach, it's possible. Shlomim she'ein moisoi ba Pesach, a Shlomim which you can never bring as a Pesach. And shach l'shem Pesach v'zmanoi, if you bring a Shlomim on Yudalid, ein din that it shouldn't be good. Now, this is speaking only about Pesach, guys. That's, you're going to see, this is the diak of Rabbah, that only this din, this Kal V'cholim, is unique to Pesach. Lamela Shem Chatas would be good. Shem Chatas would be good. Ein adin amid beis. Amalei Rabbi Shua, but sinu moisa chatas. We find the leftover chatas. Ba oila. It comes as an oila kaitz misbech. Vein moisa oila ba chatas. Uma chatas shem moisa ba oila. Shach l'shem oila psula. Oila shem moisa ba chatas. Shachat l'shem chatas. Ein adin she'it psula. So you see over here that what? That she'ein moisa ba chatas. That she'ein moisa ba chatas. Shach l'shem chatas. If you shech l'shem chatas, is it not a kal v'cholim that it should be puzzle? And Rabbi Eliezer didn't agree. He didn't agree with this, guys. Rabbi Yeshua is saying the chatas should be puzzle. Yes, yes. And Rabbi Eliezer is not agreeing with that. Why? Because Rabbi Eliezer holds the shem chatas. If you shech something the shem chatas, it's kosher. This is Rabbi's raya. This is Rabbi's raya. So, guys, this is the raya we're bringing over here. Rabbi has a raya, guys. Only l'shem Pesach is no good, because we had a raya from Shlomim. L'shem Chatas, it would be good because he didn't argue over here. So this is the machlokes between Rabbi and Rabbi Yochanan vis-a-vis what a Chatas. Like Rabbi Yochanan in its puzzle, and he holds completely like Yossi ben Chanan. Like Rabbi, he's a hybrid. He holds like Yossi ben Chanan in Pesach. He does not hold like him in Chatas. It's not in Chatas. Again, a very hard Gemara. I didn't do a great job on the explanation. I just wanted to focus on the kudis that were taken out, right? And if you got that, I'm happy. Okay, just look at Rashi. The 2 lines down where it gets, third line where it gets small. Uma chatash moisra. From kal v'chomer kizat to Doirish, says Rabbi Yeshua. If you're going to dash in this kal v'chomer, yesh chol lifsol oil l'shem chatas. You should go ahead and passel oil l'shem chatas. Okay, now. You should, guys, listen to my words. You should pass the oil of Shem Chatas, and you don't. Why? Because a lishma, l'shem chatas, is still kosher. And that's why Rashi says, Umahacha daik rabba, and here, right, Rabbi makes the diak, milsil le'el. Medalaya hadile Rabbi Loza, when Rabbi Loza doesn't answer Rabbi Yeshua, anonami paslina b'nishchat l'shem chatas. He doesn't answer that, fellas. Since he's not answering that, obviously he must hold out l'shem chatas is good. So that's the machlokes, and that's the chart. Okay. Amalei Rabbi Eliezer, lo yamamin b'chatash ken ksher l'shma kol hashana kula. Time of Pesach she'ena kosher l'shmai el bizmana. Ha'il v'u pasel l'shmai din hu sheyifsu acherim l'shmai. Okay, now we had another din Shimon Achi Azariah. Okay, that's let's see that din. Back in the Mishnah, this is the 4th sheet in the Mishnah. Shimon Achi Azariah oimer shachtan l'shem gavoya mehen ksherin. If you shecht an animal l'shem a higher level, then it's kasha. L'shem namach mehen psulin. So as opposed to the Chachamim that said everything's kosher except chatzas Pesach, as opposed to Rabbi Eliezer who added asham, as opposed to Rabbi Yossi ben Chanan who said l'shem chatzas l'shem Pesach's also no good. He's saying it depends. It's not a universal din. Let's look at its level. If it's a higher level, l'shem a higher level, it's still good. If it's not, not. The Gemara is going to ask, guys, does it mean a higher level and it's oil l'baylam shem chayva, or just that it's what? It's kasha? When it says kasha, does it mean it accounts for the owner or not? That's what the Gemara is going to ask. Okay. Ketzad. What's an example of higher? Kachri kedoshim sheshachtan l'shem kachim kalim. Kachri kedoshim that you shechted l'shem kachim kalim is psulin. Kachim kalim sheshachtan l'shem kachri kedoshim would be ksherim. One you downgraded, one you upgraded. Now the Gemara says something. Habachor, the Mishnah, Habachor v'amaisa, which are kachim kalim, sheshachtan l'shem shlomim, which is also kachim kalim, ksherim. Shlomim sheshachtan l'shem bachor, l'shem maisa psulin. So in other words, first he gave you eye contact. First he gave you kachim kedoshim, kachim kalim. Now he's giving you with even the realm of kachim kalim, there are dargas that bachor and maisa are less darga than what than shlomim. Okay. Shimon Azai Omer. Rav Ashi Masni Mishmeid Rav Yochanan. Rav Acha Brei the Rav Masni Mishem Rav Yanai. My time of the Shimon Achayazer. Where did he get Azai? Where does he get it from? Damakra. V'yichalu es Kochi b'nei Yisrael. Es Asher Yerimu LaShem. What does Yerimu mean? B'moira mehem. When does Chilul take place? Only if what? It's b'moira mehem, higher than them. A mischalolin. Then it's not mischalol. So he's saying they're not mischalel when what? When it's not mischalel? When biyarimu, when it's a higher level. So if it's kachik kadashim or shlomim kachim kalim versus b'char ma'isa, it's a higher level. Then it's not being mechalel. Mashen kingma, where it's lamuch, then it'll be mischalel. That's his pasuk. For the Gemara, I need this pasuk with something else. You're using this to teach me what? That this halacha? But me boy I need for another halacha. I need a chiddush Shmuel. Dama Shmuel. Minayin la'oicheles hatevel shuba misa. We know before you separate the truma gedola and ma'aser rishon from ma'aser sheni, and from it's called tevel. How do you know if what? If you eat tevel, you chayiv misa b'dei shemayim. Shneimar v'yichalu es kotche b'nei Yisrael es asher yarimu l'Hashem. What does yarimu mean? To separate. In other words, the first guys, we learned the first part yarimu is high. Here we're learning is what is truma, as a separation. It depends how you dash in the pasuk. So now, we're speaking about something the asid that you're going to go ahead and change. In other words, how can I use it to teach me Shimon ben Azariah's din about higher and lower if I need to teach me the din of Misa B'Tevel? So the Gemara answers, I'll tell you why. In Cain, if that's all it's coming to teach me, Lichtev Kra Asher Hurmu, Maya She Yorimu, Shmamina Tarti, you hear both. Okay? You hear both. Now, Hurmu would teach me what's separated. Yorimu means also Lashon that's elevated. Boy Reb Zera, Kshein Ve'Meratzin. Now, what does it mean? Kasha, but you have to bring another one. Ve'ein Cholkin Ela B'Chada. Okay, I'm bringing a guys, look at me. I'm bringing a shlomim l'shem b'char. A shlom l'shem ma'asav heim. Like the Tanakama, what's the din? Right? Ela shloi oila b'am l'shem chayva. Good. Says Rav Shimon ben Azariah, pasul. Okay, that's one machlokes. I'm bringing guys a b'char l'shem shlomim. What did the Chacham hold? What does Shimon ben Azariah hold? And does he hold and it's kosher? In other words, and it counts for what? For the Bechor? Bechor l'shem shlomim, and it counts for the Bechor or not. In other words, it could be he only argues in one, it could be he argues in two. In other words, when he says kosher, Shimon Azariah, he means in gansen, legamri, that and va'oil b'ayim shem chayv. Or no, it means the same thing. It's a kosher carbon, but what? And you can go ahead and do the avodah, and the kohen can eat it. However, what? He has to bring another one. That's the Gemara Shaila. Boy Reb Zera, kasher and ve'emiratzin, you have to bring another. The chi pligi b'chad the pligi, and the only arguing whether it's kosher or not. I don't look kasher and miratzin, but tati pligi. He argues two ways. One, it's good, and right, and two, it's what it is. One, it's good only when it's higher, and two, when it is good, it's totally good, and you don't have to bring another. Rabbi Bitem Rabbi Zerika Toshma Habachor v'Amaisa Sheshachtim l'Shem Shlomim. Now you're going down, right? Because they're a lower level of Kachim Kalam. Ksherim, excuse me, you're going up. I'm sorry. Bachor and Maisa Sheshachtim l'Shem Shlomim is Ksherim. Why are they Kasha? Because in the world of Kachim Kalam, Shlomim is a higher level. Shlomim Sheshachtim l'Shem Bachor. Oil l'shem ma'aser psulin. V'yisal k'leitach ksherin umeratzin b'chor baritzuyahu. Guys, look at me. I'm shechting a b'chor l'shem shlomim. Kasha. Now, why do you want to say kasha? Kasha that you don't have to bring kasha that you can bring it, and two that you don't have to bring another one. A b'chor. How could you say a b'chor is meratzah? B'chor is not a baritzuy. It's not. It's a b'char. It's not something that's shaykh ritzui. So therefore, from the lashon of the Mishnah, we can be placed with the shayla. It's a good carbon, but you have to bring another one. That's all. So you know, because it's not shaykh ritzui by a b'char, and that's the case he gave a b'char to bring l'shem shlamim. What do you have to say? Ksherim the emiratzin. Okay, you must be that what? It's kosher, but it's not meratzin. You have to bring another carbon. With the sefer ksherim ve'meratzin, it must be when the sefer is ksherim ve'meratzin. The first case of kachik kalim l'shem kachik kedoshim nami ksherim ve'meratzin. Again, guys, there were two cases. What are the two cases? Kachim kalim l'shem kachik kedoshim and kachim kalim l'shem kachim kalim. In other words, kachim kalim l'shem kachik kedoshim. It's clear what the difference is. By shlomim, it's a higher level, but with even the realm of kachim kalim, I got levels. So just like the level of kosher kalim certainly means kosher and it's not accepted, you have to bring another. So too, when you accept kosher kalim, shem kosher kedoshim, also it's kosher ve'emaratza. Let's be consistent. Says the Gemara, no, you don't have to be consistent. Midi area, hakadisa. Maybe I have separate halachas. Notice a bechor is not meratza because it's not shayach. Mashenkin, if I bring a shlomim l'shem oila, einachinami, it's meratza. Could be. Elamai kamashmalon. Okay, if that's the case, then what would the question be? That gevoy v'namach kamashmalon to tell me that what? That you're telling me that this higher and lower? I don't need you to tell me that. Tanina, I learned that in another Mishnah. Ketzad kachim kedoshim sheshachtin l'shem kachim kalim. So you see that what? Higher and lower. So what are you telling me? The case of kalim that it's higher and lower. You see that what? I know that from the Mishnah. So Madatema kachim kedoshim and kachim kalim hu deika gavoyim enalach. Guys, you told me two dinim, right? You told me din one, din two. So you're telling me that there's a din in din two. There's also a din of that kachim kalim. There is a higher and lower. Most of the answer is yeah. Enochinami. I'm telling you that din. Kachim kalim kedosh kedoshim. It's clear the distinction shlomim to oila, but bechor to shlomim is not so clear. So now that's what I'm telling you. Ma'adatema kachim kedoshim and kachim kalim hu deika gavoya v'namach. Aval kalim v'kalim loy. I would say they're both all the same. Says Gemara Hanami Tanina. We also learned that. Now, why did the Mishnah tell me that a shlomim is higher than a bechor or maisa? Says Gemara, I know that. Shlomim. Let's say you have a line, and these are the kabbanas you have to bring. Shlomim. You have a shlomim waiting there and a bechor waiting there. Which do you do first? Shlomim. Shlomim koidim es a bechor. B'fnei shehein tu'unim matin arba. You have to do shnaim shein arba. It's opposed to bechor, which is only one. Smicha requires smicha, as opposed to bechor doesn't require smicha. Unisachim, and the shlomim requires nisachim, which not bechor not. Utenufas chazav v'shok. You have to wave the chest and the right back foot. So therefore, what do you see? You see that what? From that Mishnah, you have the order of that shlomim is higher. So what do you have to tell me over here? In our Mishnah, that kalim is still higher. Saying for the Gemara, ha-ikar. Our Mishnah is the ikar. When it says that if you shecht a bechor l'shem shlomim, it doesn't go. Of course, this is the main source. That Mishnah about the line waiting and what comes first, that's agrora nascha. That's schlepping it along. But this is the main source. So again, we finished the night with a machloikis. We saw a machloikis about le'inyan ashram shaloi l'shmo, whether it works or it doesn't. Like Rabbi Eliezer, it doesn't. The chatz ashram, like the chachamim, you have a gzeres akasiv to go ahead. Only dama, only by chatas and not by ashram. We had this machloikis between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi in Rabbi Eliezer, where he holds totally like Rabbi Yossi ben Chonin, or only partially. Like Rabbi Yochanan, he holds totally like Rabbi Yossi ben Chonin. What does totally mean? Shlomo M'Shem Chatas out. Shlomo M'Shem Oila L'Shem Chatas out. Loit that's Rabbi Yosef. Loit Rabbi Shlomo M'Shem Pesach is out. Shlomo M'Shem Chatas is still in. We're not going to go over we extrapolated from the Brisa. We made the two diyukim to show it to you. We now went to Shimon Achi Azariah, his source from the Le'echalalu, Harimu, they go higher and lower. And then we wanted to know the Shaila, when you go higher and lower, when it says it's kasha, is it different than the Tanakhama's kasha or the same? What does it mean? Tanakhama says kasha elishlei alu. Over here, where you're going from higher to lower, maybe it's kasha completely, right? And the Gemara concludes, no, it's not kasha completely. And the chiddush was to teach me that by kasha kadosh and kasha kalam, there's also by kasha kalam, there is what? There is also a difference. I feel bad.